So recently, one of my two most anticipated indie games of the year, Unbeatable, got delayed until next month. I had planned to play it and review it when it would have come out on November 6th, but now it's releasing the day after my other most anticipated indie, Skate Story, which I've been waiting 2.5 years to play. Reviewing both of those at the same time is going to make me ask Santa for a double barrel this Christmas, but at least both of those games are finally coming out. Since Unbeatable was delayed, I started to look for another game to review coming out on the same day, but the only game that interested me looked quite rough on my machine, so I decided instead to come back to a game that I've always wanted to make a video about. Figment, which is weird. I don't know why I've always wanted to do that. I had like a weird parasocial relationship with this game, always seeing it in my library. For some reason, I just really wanted to play it. I was initially going to make a video reviewing the second one way back when, and then I got the first one and I was going to make a video where I got all the achievements in that, but I quickly found out that making those videos how I wanted to watch them was more work than was sustainable. Just ask the over an hour long 20,000 word Batman video currently sitting in my folder without most of its footage edited and painfully outdated voiceover. So now, with the new direction of this channel, I thought it would be nice to cycle back and make an extremely on-demand review of an 8-year-old game that is never talked about. Figment is the greatest game I have played since my last review. It's marketed as this sort of adventure puzzle action game where only some of those genres actually work. I wouldn't say it's a very good action game with a minuscule moveset, non-existent combat progression and only a small pool of encounters and enemy types. The adventure part of the game is debatable since you'll only be in 3 different environments, but I guess the definition of an adventure is met here. I think this game at its core is a puzzle game. Maybe a puzzle adventure game, because working through waves of puzzles in each level is the reason this game is a good time. It is relentless in giving you puzzle after puzzle and sometimes breaks for a minor combat encounter in between. The puzzles hardly ever stop you in your tracks, they're not difficult, but they are enjoyable, and I found myself stimulated working through this game and solving the next order to activate battery sockets, when to backtrack a bit to make it through the puzzle, or where to push blocks in order to progress. The game truly succeeds in this area, and with refreshing pacing, a fun soundtrack and memorable musical moments, Figment is a game that I'm going to look back on relatively fondly. I want to top off this review by saying that Figment is not a long game at all. It only took me 4 hours to beat, so bear that in mind when thinking about if this game is worth your time and your money. Figment is a game which is split into a few different worlds, let's say. Worlds as in a typical 2D platformer where you have a collection of separate levels or with their own gimmick and topped off with a boss fight when you get to the end. In each world you'll have a different floating island theme and some different puzzle mechanics, like one world which features a robot you have to push through each level on some train tracks, or another world which has a lot of puzzles involving damaging waves that come at you periodically. In each world there's a bunch of levels, all adding or changing one thing to make them interesting. A level will typically take anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, usually hovering around the middle of that. You get through these levels very quickly and every one of them does something different. A new way to reach the end, a new gimmick or obstacle, and it is a pleasure to work through them because you're greeted by enough new things to keep the game feeling interesting, strictly in the sense of puzzles. Some levels might have you thinking for a few minutes and then you'll realise how stupid you are, but most of the puzzles come together quite fast. You still have to think, but there's a satisfying ease, like you know your brain is working, but it's putting things together so fast. They're not easy in a way that made me bored, but easy in a way that kept me actively looking for more, and with the brevity of the levels, there's a lovely kick in the pace of this game where you're always getting fed another thing to keep your brain whirring. Alright, so this stuff is really good, I enjoy that part of the game, but the rest of the gameplay is clearly something that the studio did not get down for me. Every so often, you'll walk onto an island and enemies spawn on you for a combat encounter. You'll then have to fight them using a kit of just 2 buttons. You can swing your sword at enemies, dealing a bit of damage. You can also charge that attack, which ends up doing a big sword swing around you, dealing a bit more damage. As well as that, you have a dodge button, which will give you invincibility frames through attacks and other environmental obstacles. This is all you have to fight with, which does lend itself well to the fact that you're not fighting much, but that doesn't mean it's interesting. The enemies themselves are alright, there's not a huge number of them. You have these lizards that spit out acid and some spiders and some tentacles that come out of the ground and slam you. The enemies are more engaging than the kit you have to defeat them with, because they actually do fight back. I got hit quite a lot and they have good AI, seeming to track you quite well. I never groaned at finding a new combat encounter, but I do think a few extra quirks to them would have made the game as a whole more recommendable. There's no progression in it either, no abilities to unlock or upgrade, just the good old sword swing. You do get some semblance of progression after defeating enemies, but it doesn't feel very meaningful, because after an enemy goes down or after you clear a puzzle, a bunch of these silver orbs will appear. If you collect these, you'll start filling up the small bar on the left. When you collect enough of these orbs, another section of the health bar will be added, up to a maximum of 3. So there is some reason to do these combat encounters, but I actually think upgrading your health adds nothing to the game, even works against it. You see, pickups to regenerate your health health are everywhere, like literally everywhere. So you know that even if you get hit, you'll be able to heal back up to full or close to it by the time you next find an encounter. This is why I got hit so much, because a lot of the time I didn't bother dodging enemy attacks, instead opting to rush them down and try to defeat them as quick as I could, because I knew that it would be incredibly easy and incredibly free to regain the health that I lost. What's more, even if you do die to enemies, you will respawn right before the encounter like nothing happened, and what's worse, if you die to a stage hazard like the waves of damage I mentioned before, or like the plants that shoot you, you will respawn right before you died. The puzzle does not reset in any way, you don't have to do anything again. You just go back a few steps. There is hardly a reason to try and keep yourself alive, and the health upgrades actually encourage a reckless playstyle that breaks the threat of everything in the game, because I had more health to throw away trying to speed through these encounters that don't have much depth in them anyway. Towards the end of the game I was dodging through the waves of damage that were meant to be a roadblock where you had to push these tortoises around to take cover and move forward, but with the way the puzzle spaces were laid out and with the fact that I had more health at this point, it was easy to completely ruin the game by skipping these sections that I wasn't even totally vibing with anyway. Luckily the combat encounters and stage hazards aren't the main attraction of this game, and it's redeemed in other areas, which is why I still recommend this, but the health economy is a total exploitable mess. By now you're probably wondering who we're playing as and what we're doing. Your blue main character guy is called Dusty, and he's joined by a bird companion called Piper. Together they chase down the nightmares who have stolen Dusty's scrapbook of memories through a series of different worlds with a musical theme running through them. The game is sort of a commentary on what's in the human mind. I shouldn't really say more than that because it would spoil parts of the story. Dusty is a sort of sarcastic, downer, loner type of guy. He's not too happy and is pretty much the only guy who doesn't sing in this world of music. He's kind of joyless and just wants to get his scrapbook back, while other characters like the mayor and the nightmares sing back at him without him joining in. Piper is there as his cheerful sidekick. She's always looking on the bright side and opposes Dusty in a way which makes their conversations fun enough to listen to. There's not much characterization in these people. I wouldn't say that the story is standout, it's just kind of there and also not there at the same time. The goal is to rid these worlds of the nightmares and get the scrapbook back, and it's kind of just a straight line to the end of that road. It's not really a memorable tale. The goal is meaningful enough to make you want to finish the game, but don't expect anything to come out of it. I don't think the game needs an in-depth philosophical story because it's so short, but the people in it are likable enough. The huge bright spot for the story in this game are the evil nightmares themselves. These act as the bosses for each world and are all captivating in their own musical ways, because they sing at you a lot and sound stupid a lot, but I couldn't help but love them. They're so goofy and non-threatening, and when they start singing I just felt a smile come across me because each music section is a really fun time. In particular, the spider nightmare boss had some killer vocals going on. She is belting this beautifully rhythmic tune with a chorus that made me wish she would sing again and again. Seriously, this is some quality stuff. The main villain's theme I also remember quite fondly. He has this powerful voice with a memorable hook, and it's so unbelievably cheesy, but that's part of why I love it so much. His instrumentation is also great, with full-on guitar sections and thick sounds underneath. It's just a delight to play through the puzzles, see the nightmare every so often, and then join them for a big ballad at the end. I seriously enjoyed the final nightmare section with this last guy. It's long, it's musically rich, and it's arresting because this stringy purple dude had me hooked from the start with how stupid he sounds.
Eventually, we all lose everything!
There are positives and there are negatives with this game. I've read some reviews of its sequel, and a lot of them say that it's much better than this first one, and a lot of disappointing things here aren't really in it, so I'll definitely have to play that at some point. Figment is worth it. I know I have some mixed feelings towards a few of its elements, but I believe the puzzles and the musical elements are worth it, especially since the game isn't a commitment at all. It's a good game if you want to use your brain a bit in a low intensity environment for a couple of evenings.